truly said by Gustave Flaubert, "The Arab Republic of Egypt is a great place for contrasts. Splendid things gleam in the dust." Egypt is one of the world's oldest countries. Its mythology, consuming history, and unique culture is as interesting as it gets. The more you know about it, the deeper you want to go inside the facts. With a population of 102 million, Egypt has the largest Arabic population in the world, and ranks 14 in the global population list. The Egyptian life expectancy is approximately 72 years, which ranks 124th in the world list. The nominal GDP of the country is $361 billion, more or less, which ranks 33rd on the global level. Egypt shares its borders with Libya on the west, the Gaza Strip on its north, Israel to its east, and Sudan on the south. The South African country has coastlines on the Mediterranean Sea, the River Nile, and the Red Sea. Egypt is the 30th largest country in the world in terms of the area. Slightly 3 times larger than New Mexico, its total area rounds about 386,560 square miles. An interesting thing to note here is that a population of 102 million people only resides in 5.5% of the land. The rest is a deserted area. You must be aware of the fact that Egypt's Nile is the longest-running river in the world, covering 6,650 kilometers, slightly longer than the Amazon River with a length of 6,575 kilometers. In ancient times, Egyptians would measure the depth of the Nile using nilometer. The river also carries a sacred value for Egypt, as people consider it the Great River. It was also believed that the tears of the goddess Isis made the Nile overflow each year. Therefore, they celebrated the flood with a festival called the Night of the Tear Drop. The climatic conditions in the country remain hot and dry in most regions, except for the Mediterranean coast, which experiences rainfall in winter. On a yearly basis, during the month of May and March, extremely hot, dry, and dusty winds blow from the south and southwest, which are natively referred to as Carmesin. These harsh winds make the temperature rise up to 45 degrees on a good day. If the winds become drier, the temperature can even exceed 50 degrees. In the fall, the temperature varies from 9 to 18 degrees Celsius. Egypt's capital Cairo is the largest city in the Arab world. The city's population alone is 20 million, and it is the third largest city in Africa after Lagos and Kinshasa. Cairo has been titled as the City of Thousand Minarets owing to its predominance of Islamic architecture. The city also has the oldest and largest film and music industries in the world of Arab countries. Cairo is known as the Hollywood of the MENA region. More than 4,000 films have been produced by the Egyptian film industry since 1908. Egypt is a leading exporter of crude and refined petroleum, gold, nitrogenous fertilizers, crochet clothing, gems or precious metals, and petroleum gas. For Italy, the United States, Turkey, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. The top imports of the country include semi-finished iron, wheat, and mechanical car parts from China, Russia, the United States, Germany, and Saudi Arabia. The net exports total around $25 billion, which translates to roughly $250 for every resident in the transcontinental country. You would be maneuvered to know that Egyptian history is known to have begun in 3200 BC, during the reign of King Nama, or King Menes, who united the Upper and Lower Kingdoms to form the magnificent city of Egypt. According to some modern notions, it is claimed that King Menes may not have existed at all, as there are no historical facts and figures to support his existence. Egypt's history has witnessed some of the most interesting dynasties of rulers. For instance, Pharaoh Pepi II started ruling the country at the age of 6 and ruled for 94 years. Probably the longest reign in the history of the world. Legend has it that he would smear unadorned slaves with honey to attract flies away from him. Ramses II, who ruled Egypt for over 60 years, is known as the greatest pharaoh of the Egyptian empire. He was the only emperor to carry the word great along with his name. The ruler had red hair, which was associated with the god Seth. The great ruler supposedly owned 100 concubines and had over 100 children. The history of the Egyptian flag is also a unique one. The flag symbolizes and signifies the Arab liberation from years of slavery and oppression through three bands of colors: red, white, and black. The color red stands for the struggle against submission, black represents oppression, and white demonstrates a bright future. In world history, Egyptian women carry more rights than any other country's women. They could own property, initiate business deals, and file for divorces. What better country than the one which empowers its women? In ancient Egypt, it was perceived that the mummification of the deceased ensured a safe passage to the afterlife. The process of mummification had two stages. The first one included embalming of the body, followed by the wrapping and burial of the body. The organs were stored in canopic jars, each jar representing a god. It is also said that supplies of ornaments and food were kept inside the coffin so that the deceased could have access to them once they rise again from the ashes. Egyptians believed in mummifying animals as well. In recent years, archaeologists have identified remains of a 15-foot-long mummified crocodile. Did you know that in the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, a crocodile is referred to as devourer of human hearts? Perhaps not, because most of these books have been preserved by the national museums to safeguard the significance of Egyptian history. When deceased emperors were buried, alive servants were buried along with them, so that they could serve their masters and kings in the afterlife. The Egyptians were the first ones to divide 12 months to constitute them as a year containing 365 days. Do you know how? You might have heard about this before, but it is always good to refresh our memory. Ancient Egyptians needed to predict when the Nile would flood, which led to the development of the world's first calendar. They also came up with the idea of developing a clock, which means that if you're being able to see the accurate time today, it is because centuries ago, Egyptians learnt how to calculate time. One of the qualities that Egyptians value the most is Maut, which symbolizes good behavior, honesty, and justice. It was believed that god Anubis weighed the heart of the person against the feather of truth on the Judgment Day, which would later decide the person's ascension to the afterlife. In mythology, if the heart weighed more than the feather, Anubis would feed it to the crocodile monster Ammit, with the person losing their soul forever. However, if the feather weighed more than the heart, then Anubis would lead the person's soul to Osiris, in the afterlife. Egyptians also believe that if a person exists in someone's remembrance, that person remains immortal. Which explains Egyptians' act of removing all possible records of a criminal, and forbidding his name. It symbolizes that, in this way, the criminals would truly die, and never live again. The home of ancient pharaohs, Egypt, is an exquisitely dazzling location for tourists and archaeologists. Some world's famous tourist destinations that will leave you awestruck include the Pyramids of Giza, Luxor's Karnak's Temple, Islamic Cairo, Aswan, Abu Simbel, White Desert, Siwa Oasis, and Alexandria. The River Nile and Red Sea offer fascinating scuba diving and luxurious cruising experiences that are hard to miss out on. Did you know that the Great Pyramids of Giza took centuries to build? The weird thing is, even after centuries, more than 100 of its pyramids are still incomplete, as looters keep stripping the details away. The Great Pyramid at Giza has vents pointing to the constellation of Orion, so that the mummy's spirit could fly straight up to the gods. It is also believed that these pyramids carry supernatural forces and power that can be felt by tourists, although there's no scientific affirmation to prove that. Some of the extensively celebrated festivals include the Sun Festival, which is celebrated to honor the sun god, Sham al-Nasim, which celebrates the arrival of spring. Sphinx Festival cherishes the extravaganza of Egyptian heritage. and Wafaya al-Nil is celebrated to honor the sacredness of River Nile through exotic dances and native poetry. Some famous sports include hockey, handball, gymnastics, javelin throw, rowing, archery, and marathon. Fun fact: all these sports have ancient scriptures, which prove that they have existed in Egypt since centuries. Egyptians also value cinema and television a lot, as it portrays their ethnicity and culture through real-time stories and experiences. Shows like The End, Kabil, Tut, Cleopatra, and El Kabir Awi are widely broadcasted. Egyptian cuisine is graced by dishes such as Ful Medame, mashed fava beans and stew of cooked fava beans served with vegetable oil, cumin, and optionally with chopped parsley, garlic, onion, lemon juice, chili pepper, herb and spice ingredients. Kushari, Egypt's national dish and a mixture of lentils, rice, pasta, served with spicy tomato sauce and onion rings. Other common ingredients are lamb, eggplant, and chickpeas. Mulukia, chopped and cooked bush okra with garlic and coriander sauce. It feels a bit like thick spinach soup. Tea is the national drink in Egypt, followed by coffee, which is sometimes prepared using the Turkish method. The Egyptian political framework is governed by republicanism, characterized by a semi-presidential system of governance. By 2025, Egypt envisions to quadruple garment and textile exports, employ 1 million people, and attract $17 billion worth foreign investment. Moreover, it is currently focusing on a more inclusive and digitized future. Thank you for watching. To see more such videos, like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Explified.